His teachers thought he was stupid. His brain couldn't focus. He couldn't sit still. He forgot everything. Tests were a nightmare. School felt like a prison sentence. Every single day, the system was telling this kid, "You're not good enough. You don't belong here." And they were right about one thing. He didn't belong in a classroom. He belonged at 35,000 feet. Because that boy, the one everyone gave up on, went on to build not one, not two, but 5 airlines, including one of the most beloved airlines in American history. His name is David Neeleman, and this is the story of the immigrant with a broken brain who changed the way the world flies. David Neeleman was born in 1959 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. His family wasn't wealthy. His grandfather had come from Dutch immigrants, started from nothing, and built up a small chain of convenience stores in Utah. Humble roots, hard-working people. When David was just 5 years old, the family moved to Sandy, Utah, a quiet suburb where nobody knew his name, nobody spoke his language, and nothing felt familiar. He grew up caught between two worlds, Brazilian by birth, American by life, and different from everyone around him in ways he couldn't explain. He struggled in school from the very beginning. Reading was hard, tests were harder. While other kids seemed to glide through class, David felt like he was fighting through mud every single day. His mind moved too fast and too slow at the same time, jumping between 100 ideas while somehow missing the one thing the teacher just said. He wasn't lazy, he wasn't dumb. He just wasn't wired the way school wanted him to be. And for years, nobody told him why. What nobody saw, not his teachers, not his classmates, was that the same brain causing all that chaos in the classroom was quietly building something extraordinary underneath. He just needed the right place to set it loose. At 19, David did something that sounds crazy, but made perfect sense for a kid like him. He left school and went to Brazil as a religious missionary for 2 years. No business plan, no safety net, just a young man with a restless mind landing in a country he was born in but barely knew. And something happened there that would shape everything that came next. He saw poverty up close. He saw what it meant to have nothing. And he made himself a quiet promise that one day he would build something that gave ordinary people access to things only the rich could afford. He came back to Utah with that fire in his chest, enrolled in the University of Utah, and almost immediately got distracted by a deal. A woman named June Morris ran a travel agency in Salt Lake City, and David saw an opportunity to turn it into something bigger. He convinced her to start a low-cost airline called Morris Air. He was barely in his mid-20s. He had no experience in aviation. He had no business running an airline. He did it anyway. And it worked. Morris Air took off, literally and figuratively. In 1993, Southwest Airlines bought it for $130 million. David's cut, $25 million. Not bad for a college kid who could barely sit through a lecture. But here's where the story gets interesting. Southwest hired David after the acquisition, and then fired him 5 months later. His contract had a non-compete clause. He couldn't start another airline for 5 years, so he waited. And while he waited, he helped build something called Open Skies, the first ever real-time airline reservation system. The man couldn't focus in school, but he could build the future of air travel in his spare time. When the 5 years were up, David Neeleman had a plan, and this time he was thinking much bigger. JetBlue, building the impossible. 1999. David walks into a room full of investors in New York City, one of the most competitive cities on the planet, a city dominated by massive airlines with billions of dollars, and tells them he wants to start a new airline, a low-cost airline from JFK Airport. He didn't blink, he didn't flinch. He said it like it was the most obvious idea in the world. Most investors walked out, a handful believed him, and that was enough. JetBlue took its first flight on February 11th, 2000, from New York to Fort Lauderdale. And from day one, it was unlike anything people had ever seen on a budget airline. Every single seat had a personal TV screen with live satellite television. The legroom was better than competitors charging twice the price. The staff actually smiled. The whole experience felt like someone had asked, what if flying didn't have to be miserable? And then actually built the answer. People went crazy for it. JetBlue became the fastest airline in American history to reach $1 billion in annual revenue. Within 5 years, it was a major airline. David Neeleman, the kid who failed tests, the immigrant who grew up between two countries, the man who got fired by Southwest, had built something the entire industry was scrambling to copy. And then he quietly did something that nobody in his position ever does. In his first year as CEO, David donated his entire salary to a fund for JetBlue employees going through hard times. His reason was simple: I have enough, they need it more. David Neeleman was eventually replaced as CEO of JetBlue in 2007. He didn't sulk, he didn't retire. He flew straight to Brazil and built Azul Airlines, which became the largest domestic airline in Brazil. Then he came back to America and built Breeze Airways. 5 airlines, 5 times. Same restless brain, same unstoppable energy. He was once asked if he could take a pill to cure his ADHD, would he? His answer stopped everyone in the room. No, because then I'd be just like everybody else. That's the lesson. The thing that made David Neeleman's life harder, the brain that didn't fit, the mind that couldn't sit still, the immigrant who never fully belonged anywhere, that was never his weakness. That was always his superpower. He just had to find the right sky to fly it in.